clients with, if that's something that's important to you, let's cover that. Let's get together for 20, 30 minutes. Similarly speaking, looking at slide number 12, Joe just said he was talking with some kids that are probably in high school, soon to get out of high school. And he was talking to some, maybe even young moms or, guardians that are later on in years, educating someone about this slide. Similar speaking, I could get super excited about slides number 12 as well when I'm talking with folks to tell them, hey, this is what I can do to help people. And oh my gosh, if I could just show you this for 10, 15 minutes with a couple other things and paint a bigger picture of what we do here, I think you'd be a little more confident in your finances. I think you'd be a little bit more understanding of what I do and how I can help people, but also, I think I might be able to add some value to your guys' plan as well, if I'm talking to a couple or whatever. Um, all of that came from me coming in on a Monday at 8 a.m., coming in on a Saturday, pulling up the slides, and just sitting there and talking to myself. What would I, as a prospective client, want to know? What would I, as a potential teammate, want to see the vision of? Those are the things that you can sit right now and do. And I would tell you, if you don't know who to call, you don't know what to tell them, walk through these slides. What do you think people are wanting to know? What do you think people want to hear? And then it's from there getting in front of folks and just telling them, hey, we have some really exciting stuff, and maybe you're newer. I just am not really able to articulate it myself, but there's some really cool concepts that I've seen been able to put into practice, change some people's lives. Let's connect. I want to introduce you to my business partner. And I can tell you in my early years, I had some meetings come in that I don't know if I can name them by names, but I'm pretty sure I told Tyson, like, hey, I got someone coming in. They're super excited to hear about something. He's like, about what? I'm like, I don't know, but they're here. And that's all that really matters. Some of it turned into clients, some turned into referral partners, and some people just said, "Hey, this is really weird. Let's never talk to you again." But it was at the very least some activity. It got me experience. It taught me how to overcome objections. All of that came from just understanding these slides, understanding what potentially could be relevant to a person and what might not be. Um, so I want to pause there. Do you guys feel like there's maybe one slide that's really easy to kind of insert into a conversation with someone that gets maybe someone's attention pretty easily?
I don't want to dominate it here, but it's really easy to just ask people if they've ever heard of the Rule of 72. Um, even as a
How many
starting
people
point.
have said yes to that?
Oh, zero.
Okay.
I did it, just on Sunday. I said, show of hands who's ever heard of this. And obviously, nobody ever raises their hand. And I just kind of, you know, honestly, so I've taken this slide and I've tweaked it a little, or this presentation and tweaked it a little bit. And so that's kind of more, I mean, I know it's like slide 8 here, but it's a little higher than the one that I did. And it's just a nice icebreaker, because you can kind of lead into, and that's usually the response that I get, right? Nobody's ever heard of it, and it's to nobody's fault. That's why we're here. We're here to talk about these things, and so yeah, it's a relatable, ice-breaking type question.
Yeah, what I like about that is that's not like a financial product.
Right.
It's just a concept. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. It's a very easy thing to explain and for someone to understand. So I asked you how many people have said that they've heard of it before. I've had a bunch of people tell me, "Oh, I've heard of that before." And I say, "Well, what do you know about it? Explain it to me." And they're like, "Actually, I don't know." So that tells me, for those of you that are listening, that tells me that people are very scared about their finances and they just want, it's a pain point that they want to kind of avoid. And so that's a person that needs to just spend some time. We need to break that wall down, that they need a little more education, and we need to build trust with that person first. But it's an easy thing to hear about. I say, hey, maybe you've heard of compound interest. Oh yeah, I've heard of that before. But yeah, it's a super easy slide to explain to someone, get the conversation started. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Is there maybe a slide that you like to cover or just kind of, bring up to a person to start a conversation?
And I like the 7 money milestones. I kind of
Yeah.
I like the thought of tell people what you're going to tell them, and then recap what you told them. So I feel like that slide gives them idea of what we're going to be discussing, so it kind of sets expectations.
Okay. Do you, when you're, are you kind of putting that at the beginning of a presentation, or is this something that's still kind of in the order that we have it here?
Well, like let's say I'm just trying to catch somebody's attention. I'll say, have you heard of the 7 money milestones? My company kind of goes through those things, and those are things we can help you with. They're not, you may not need all 7 of them, but it just kind of, I've used it trying to get curiosity up for people,
Okay.
not so much as a presentation.
Okay. Does that pique some people's interest then?
Yeah, well, and I'll kind of I'll read them off to them, and they'll say, well, what does that mean? And go into a little more detail on each one of, hey, maybe I could help you with this. Or, if you don't have debt built up, or do you know where your debt's at? Do you know what your interest rates are? Those types of things. Or, um, just asking, I don't know, each one of them, see if I can figure out where the person really has a pain point.
Mhm. Do you find that there's a lot of commonalities, or do a lot of people have kind of unique questions or
I think
needs?
age tells me a great clue of where I'm going to go with them. Just
Okay.
generally
Okay.
speaking, I can guess based on their age which ones might be more important. But
Okay. So
yeah,
tell me more on that. So explain that to the rest of the group here.
well, somebody who's 30 with 2 young kids is going to be like, hey, have you considered proper protection? Right now it's crucial. And here's why even stay-at-home parents really, you'd be invaluable if something happened to your stay-at-home spouse, kind of thing. Whereas protecting your wealth might not be the biggest thing. I mean, creating a will though, I mean, they probably need one. So I guess it just depends.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, anybody else have a slide that they like to kind of insert in conversations?
The only thing I would add to this would be, to double down on what Alex saying about rehearsing this on your own and then putting it to work. It's one thing to be able to like mechanically go through this slide deck. And well, let me take a step back. The trap that new trainees and Steve, you fit right into this because you're brand new here. So if you're watching, somebody that's senior in the business present this, it's going to look like it's really easy to do because of two reasons. One, all this information is pretty elementary financial information. None of it's overly complex. We're not talking about complicated investment things. So it just feels very simple and approachable. And the second thing is a trainer is going to be fairly smooth at presenting this. And so it's going to make it look easy until you're the one that's like all of a sudden you're kind of like transitioning slide to slide and trying to make it smooth. It's much harder to actually do. So that's the first thing we need to be aware of. But then the second thing where I think you start getting way more effective in this business is as you get really repetitive at this and it becomes something that you can do on autopilot, just like you can drive the top 4 or 5 places that you drive to and from work, to and from school, to and from here constantly, you're just completely doing on autopilot, right? You're using very little brain function to like think about I turn here and then because it's a habit. What that allows you to do is open up your brain to all kinds of other things. It could be the phone call you're having, it could be talking with the kid in the car, it could be listening to whatever you're listening to. Well, the same thing applies here. If it's taking all of your brain power to really focus on, okay, I cover this, and I cover this concept, and I ask that question, like we all get there, we all start there. But eventually what that's doing is it's not allowing you to see what's my prospect doing? What are the intangible little reactions I'm getting? Did when I talk about debt management, did I get a little reaction from one of the spouses that maybe there's an issue there? When I talk about taxes, did somebody kind of like perk up in their chair a little bit? Like those are the subtle little clues. And by the way, everything I'm saying here also applies to when, and we'll get into this soon, when we get into collecting information on a new client, I've spent some time with Steve recently on this, that, the reason I don't email a form to my client to fill out, which would be more efficient, I want to do that with them, with both spouses, so that I'm seeing all of these subtle reactions and clues. Those are all the hot buttons, all the clues to any kind of red flags I need to be aware of that might be turned into objections down the road in the process, or things, to Lisa's point, that really intrigue them. That might be my openings to really get some business done with them. And that's what takes your effectiveness from, I don't know, a third to a half of the time you get some sort of result, to almost every time you get some sort of result. It's really all those soft skills. And so the key is learning this. Psychologists say you can overlearn things. I would argue you've overlearned taking a shower in the morning. So you can do it with like zero brain power, and you do it exactly the same way every single time. You've overlearned all these habits in your life. Just imagine, what if you overlearned these concepts? And to Joe's point, so then all of a sudden you're like not even thinking about business. You're not even in the office. You're out doing a workout with somebody. You're out running errands. You bump into somebody at the store. You can just reflexively weave in some little antidote to your business without any kind of effort. And that's where all of a sudden just massive opportunities open up to you. Because if you listen, people talk about money all day long, every single day. They may not use the word money. It might be time. It might come across as stress. It might be some comment about, I literally had the example doesn't make sense. I had a guy I know in my office about an hour ago. And just one little side comment, because his daughter graduated high school, turned into like, he's obviously worried about the cost of the next step in college and all that kind of stuff. Like, people are just thinking about this stuff all the time, and all of those are openings for us to say, well, hey, I don't know, now's not the time, but love to sit down with you sometime, show you what I do for people. I don't know if that'd be a fit for you or not, but love to share some concepts with you, how I've been able to help a lot of people. So this is the unsexy part of the business, right? This is the quiet, diligent work. And I would argue Alec is where he's at in business, because he's put the work in, so that when he does a phone call with somebody, it comes across really confident, really smooth. That wasn't the Alec of a few years ago, right? And so that's the big secret here, is that diligent, consistent work, so that when you're in front of prospects, which can be everywhere, you can use some of these concepts.
Yeah, so from what you just said there, Tyson, I think the reason I'm picking up so much like retirement money right now, and people that are more retirement age, is because of that retirement plane slide. And then, to Lisa's point of the 7 money milestone process, being able to clearly articulate, even without that image, giving people the feeling and experience of getting serviced, and feeling seen and valued, and then understanding that they have kind of a clearer picture with their finances. That's where I've gotten a lot of referrals. That's where it's led to people that have, two, three, four, $700,000 money. That it's, hey, when can we meet with you and move this money to you? It's not me, hopefully, running across someone that might accidentally have an account. That's where I've kind of seen the most growth, is by understanding this and it being very reflexive, as opposed to being very reactive when I'm talking to people. So uh, that's been a big help for me. So um, I don't know what else, would want to be covered, or Tyson, if you had anything else on your mind.
I don't for today. I think we did a great job, and I think it's kind of up to each of us to put the work in and take this and use it. I know we were going to ask Brian to comment on this a little bit, but he had a meeting he had to attend to. My question for you guys on the call right now would be, what are you most looking for, kind of moving forward the next few weeks, in terms of, there's a treasure trove of content we could get into, but what would you benefit most hearing about? What concepts, what part of our sales process or recruiting process or business or anything along those lines? Would love to brainstorm with you guys on kind of what would be the most valuable concepts. I don't know if you can talk at all. I know you don't have your camera on, but I'd ask you of that too, since you're a little bit newer.
Well, I mean, for me, it's, I mean, I think, I looked at the client one-on-one slides and th those are phenomenal slides. I mean, they really make it simple for the client to understand. And so for me, yeah, I definitely need to practice those slides, but I think the next step is there needs to be a very natural transition from kind of those educational conversations to segueing into product specific discussions. So for me, definitely need to practice the slides, but for me, it's kind of filling in that whole product knowledge so that I can easily transition into, that those explanations of what those products are and how they'll benefit the client.
Come back in a sec. Joe, do you have anything to add to that, or anything you would say on from your vantage point?
No, I'm going back and I went back a couple times and watched the FMAX training. Maybe on that training as to how to, practice building the proposals and whatnot, but maybe a start to finish of, moving someone from Goldman over there would be beneficial. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if that's pretty similar, honestly, to the
Well,
training that's out there. Maybe it
yeah.
is.
Here's what I think. I'll hit Joe and then I'll hit Steve. I think for you, Joe. So Alec just mentioned he's doing his first FMAX case.
Yeah.
I think the training we put out there is about as much as we can put on just kind of a conceptual hypothetical level. There's just no substitute for just getting in there on an actual client. Like come in with like, hey, I want to move, Joe Blow from Goldman to FMAX, and just getting with Alex side by side, or maybe me, and just going through that together.
Yeah,
And
perfect. I
you
think
know,
that would be something definitely beneficial. So we'll work with that, Alec, and
Yeah.
there's a couple
It,
people I'd like to do that with.
Yeah, so if it makes you guys feel better, I'm in my ninth year, and we've got this new TFA service line. So I had this client that was ready to go yesterday. I told her I was very standoffish of like, hey, here's like how we're gonna get invested, and like mind you, I'm showing her the allocation that Tyson and I put together, and I'm like, so you know the S&P 500, right? And she's like, nope. Never heard of it. And I'm like, okay, like, so we got to take like 74 steps back. And it was pretty emotional meeting for, some intangible things, but I'm like, okay, this is perfect for me to absolutely vomit on somebody of doing this FMAX presentation. How's the like the process steps moving forward? I'm like, hey, I'm gonna call you tomorrow with like what we need to do. And she's like, why? Like, I'm like, oh, like I'm gonna get the account open. Like, I just had no clue what to do, steps moving forward. And I had some time yesterday before I left the office. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just see how far we can get. So I opened it up. I kind of knew some of those basic steps and clicked, okay, get started. First question, what's your rep code? Had to call the TFA service line. I'm like, I don't even know what my rep code is. And whoever, I think his name's Michael that I talked to, he's like, no problem. Like, what's your name? What's your WFG code? Oh, it's ALQ. I'm like, would have never guessed that. And then I like clicked next and I'm like, hey, Mike, before you get off, my computer won't let me go to next. Oh, you got to do that. All of that being said, I felt like it was my first day on the job, and I wanted to cry because I was so embarrassed because I'm just like, I've been here for so long, but it's a new platform. And he's like, hey man, like this is what I get paid to do. Just like call us back if you got more questions. And that made me feel a lot more comfortable. Now, this was the perfect person to do this on. If this was a more qualified person, if I was like, hey, I don't really know how to do this, I might have explained it a little bit further, but I don't know how to tell a client, hey, you're going to be my first client. So I actually don't know how this process works. So, but you just got to do it.
I would tell you, you guys would not believe. I'd have to make a number up. I'm telling you, the amount of times I've been with a real client and we get stuck on something. I'm trying to pull up a live client account. I can't get there. I'm a little foggy on paperwork. The amount of times it's in the hundreds of times with real clients that I have said the following phrase, Allianz just updated their website. It's just my first time in. I just make it up. Like I'm not lying to the client. It's not material. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Or, oh, they just gave us new forms on this. Like people don't even like, they don't even like think twice about it. They're like, oh, no problem. Like, you know, like sometimes I think we just intimidate, we talk ourselves out of things. We intimidate ourselves because I built my whole business just fumbling and stumbling forward. And I have built the wealth of knowledge I have because I've just been swimming in the pool for long enough, right? And there's just no substitute for real in the field. There's a reason why the SEALs shoot real ammo, okay? Because they just can't simulate like warfare to that level when the stakes are that high with like rubber bullets or blanks or whatever. And I'm just telling you guys, like, if there's anything you could do to change your business, like, don't try to find the next podcast or the next book that's gonna like trigger you. Like, just fumble forward. Just call somebody. Just get them in the office. Just get going, right? And that's how you learn the business, and you're productive along the way. And people are incredibly forgiving, especially if like, you know, you pass the smell test on a lot of things. And it's like, I mean, the amount of times I've had to go back to clients and I forgot this form. They changed their requirement for this. I can't believe. I mean, I've made a living out of throwing our home office under the bus. My home office wants this report signed. Like, I know, I deal with that too in my job. Like, it's just people just roll with it, right? That's why we're in the relationship business. But that's my biggest piece of advice for you on everything from contacting to presentations to paperwork to FMAX is just to get in the weeds of that. So hope you guys take me up on that and just do more, right? And then Steve, to your point, of course, we're going to do a lot of stuff one-on-one. But I think in general, a good next step would be a transition from, okay, now we've done an effective one-on-one. Maybe we've identified a couple of hot buttons like throughout that process. How do we then transition to either a recruiting process or a client process? So I think we could pick up off of Alex talk today and get into that and just simulate a few things. Okay, based on some hot buttons we've discovered, how do we transition into client process? How do we transition to recruiting process? And kind of get going through that cycle. So we can lay down a few fresh trainings there, and I think that'll be good. So that's all I have for you guys today. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you, Alec, for your contributions today and everybody else. And let's keep charging forward.
Thank you.